today on Initiative Africa. My name is Asha Sampath. Welcome to your weekly magazine featuring Africa on the move through smart innovations and initiatives that work. Let's get on with the show with our top stories today. This week we take you to Nairobi to meet Ophir Drori, an Israeli photojournalist who has dedicated his life to the fight against the trafficking of wild animals in Africa. Today he works with the Eagle Network, a team of eco-activists and investigators who dare to dive into the world of crime and corruption to save endangered species.
That night, between seeing that baby chimp, being very frustrated from corruption and rescuing the baby chimp, I was writing down basically almost all of what we do today, which is a specialized NGO in wildlife law enforcement and in fighting corruption to get the law applied.
Growing enthusiasm from Paris to Johannesburg via Abidjan for contemporary African art, focus on the hopes of the artists who exhibit their works in Paris.
I like to use materials you don't find in art shops. You know, things like straw and henna.
African, Caribbean and Latin American influences for this dance from Angola is the Kizomba, a real international success.
20 Fingers faz estilo super.
20 Fingers is a new style. It's a fusion of several influences.
Tem mistura de zouk.
There's zouk, R&B, a touch of terracina, and a pinch of Afro.
Tem mistura de afro.
1.6 million euros. This is the result of the auction in Paris in June of more than 170 artworks by 106 African artists and the diaspora. The COVID-19 pandemic has not discouraged buyers who have turned out in large numbers to the Piazza auction house. While the vitality of contemporary African art grows on the continent, our journalists David Thiombiano and Lionel Koshwa followed some artists exhibiting in Paris. Take a look.
Emmanuel Kavi is from Togo. In Paris, at the Turenne Gallery, his imagination runs riot, and his brushstrokes conjure up faces and landscapes. The visitors at the African Art Fair, organized by Beautiful Art, are enchanted. A painting takes shape, and an African artist can live from his art.
Je présente mes œuvres réalisées avec de la matière venue d'Afrique. My artworks are made with raw materials from Africa, pigments, earth.
J'aime bien travailler avec des matériaux.
I like to use materials you don't find in art shops. You know, things like straw and henna.
De la paille, du henné. Mes œuvres en général, ça varie.
My work sells for 50 euros to 6,000 euros at the moment.
Pour le moment. It's
hard to make a living from art these days. I do other jobs to make ends meet. I teach workshops in schools. That helps.
Innocent Burigeya is from Rwanda. This artist with a cause paints for peace and women's empowerment. The political crisis in Burundi was the inspiration for Flowers Weapons, one of the key creations in his collection.
That's why you can see the weapon with the flower. Yeah, those flowers are the wishing to show through on the weapon or through on the bad situation. There is a hope which growing up on the. Yeah, this one it's a 2,500 euro.
The Joseph Turenne Gallery vibrates to images born of exaltation, indignation, and provocation. Welcome to the multicolored world of African artists and sculptors. From Eddie Aketa's Tin Can Man to the castaways in the works of the Algerian artist Rosa Gelal. Works by more than 60 artists from across the continent are on show, championing an aesthetic approach that is in stark contrast with Western painting and sculpture. In Africa, until recently, art was seen by many as the final resort for life's misfits and failures. The new generation of artists are appreciated at their true value. Despite a morose economic climate in Africa, and with art often seen as luxury, many major talents are thriving.
Last year, I had an exhibition, Soro Art exhibition And I saw one of my biggest painting. So between 5,000 and 2,000 euro. For me, I focusing to showing the message and to prove to let the people get my ideas and my message. Of course, to get the money also it's important, but my effort it's to showing the message and to put the feelings on my artwork.
In Africa, in Burkina Faso, to be precise, I sold a painting for 10,000 euros. It was my first sale. That was in 2006. It's hard to forget. It was a very big painting, and I went on to sell my work to the World Bank in Ouagadougou to decorate a hall. They are the most remarkable sales I have made so far.
Beautiful Art's objective is to present Africa's finest creations to more lucrative markets. The young promoters at Beautiful Art have established a system of comparative evaluations to promote African art. It is often claimed that you cannot make a living as an artist. The participants at the Turenne Gallery would disagree. As well as earning a living from the sales of their work, their art is also helping emancipate others. Rwandan artist Innocent Borgeya is a case in point. His dream is to organize a festival dedicated to his compatriots, and more specifically to women artists. Just as Beautiful Art's African Art Fair was a showcase for Innocent and his contemporaries, he now intends to make sure his sisters in Rwanda have their chance to shine.
This week our guest is an all-rounder photojournalist educator. Today he's one of the founders of the Eagle Network, specializing in the fight against the trafficking of wild animals, a mission that earned him several international awards and led him to write a book on the last great apes. He met with our reporter Edwin Karaoke and revealed to him how he discovered his mission during a trip to Cameroon.
Ophil Drory, hello.
Hello.
You're the founder of Eagle, an organization of eco-activists determined to fight wildlife criminals in Africa. And somehow, it all started in 2003 with you meeting a little Cameroon chimp called Future. What happened?
Well, it all started when I arrived to Cameroon as a journalist, in fact. I was following a lead by Jane Goodall, the primatologist, that if we do nothing about the illegal trade in apes meat, we're going to lose great apes within 20 years and many other protected animals for the illegal trade, the international illegal trade. And I started this article following this lead, and in fact it was pretty easy for me to see how this illegal trade is rooted not in poverty or in small villages, but actually it is driven by the rich and the powerful. In fact, it was the same wildlife officers and police officers in charge of enforcing a law that existed that gives up to 3 years imprisonment to anyone even holding a chimp. It was the same ones, the same people who are in charge of enforcing the laws that were actually driving the trade, running the trade in the first place. So, of course, corruption was the big thing. And I was finishing maybe 3/4 of an article showing the link between the international illegal trade, very organized one, a law that was put in place to prevent it, that has not been even enforced a single time because of corruption. So all this was pretty clear and was very easy to demonstrate as wild animals, protected wild animals, were sold quite openly. And there I went to try to find the light in the end of the tunnel for my article, which is the conservation world, the NGOs. And as I went there to get some optimism to my article, as I went there to see solutions for corruption, for the problem of enforcement, I found a far bigger problem, in fact. I found a very detached kind of NGO world that is talking about sensitization, talking about seminars, talking about workshops, but does not want to get themselves dirty with enforcement and definitely not with corruption that would put them in conflict with some big people. And that's where I stopped the article and during my research, I saw a baby chimpanzee called baby chimpanzee that was about to die. That was an orphan, a survivor of the slaughter of his family. I ended up rescuing this baby chimp, and at the same day where I saw this baby chimp about to die and confronted firsthand with the corruption that prevents this law from being applied, and also this chimp from being rescued, I took the initiative to try to formulate what I see that is lacking in the system. And in that night, between seeing that baby chimp, being very frustrated from corruption, and rescuing the baby chimp, I was writing down basically almost all of what we do today, which is a specialized NGO in wildlife law enforcement and in fighting corruption to get the law applied. I rescued this baby chimp, and all that I've written in that night, I had to stay, be a father and mother to this baby chimp for a while, and Future the baby chimp actually forced me to stay and apply what I was writing, to show it's possible.
13 years after you started your first association, LAGA, in Cameroon, the Eagle Network is now established in 10 African countries. What type of criminality does it fight against?
Mm-hmm. Well, when we talk about wildlife crime, a lot of people are still thinking about poachers and poaching and some small things happening in a village. In fact, wildlife crime is the 5th largest illegal trade in the world. It's related to organized crime and other forms of crime, as drugs trade, human trafficking, arms trafficking. All these are many times related. So we are dealing with that layer, not the layer of the poachers that are sent by the bigger traffickers, but in fact international organized crime, criminal rings that are making a lot of money from the illegal wildlife trade, and that are activating the small poachers. That is connected a lot of times with high-level corruption. And that is why now, after this point of time, we were able to get into jail more than 2,500 major traffickers, arrested, convicted, and put behind bars. And that includes generals, that includes politicians, it includes a police commissioner, wildlife director in charge of the entire wildlife management of their country. This is the real wildlife crime. It's organized crime, high-level criminality connected to many other forms of crimes, and that is our work, to try to hunt them down and work with authorities to make sure they are arrested, convicted, put behind bars in the face of vast corruption, because that is what enables what enables organized crime, not just in Africa but everywhere. It is complicity, it is corruption.
You on Initiative Africa, welcome back to the second part of our show. Follow us now in the footsteps of Kizomba, a dance that began to spread throughout the world in the years 2000. Its origin can be found in the Selemba, the national dance of Angola, but also in the zouk of West Indian origin and even tango. Paris even hosts a 5-day Kizomba Congress every year. Lauren Rimondi, our correspondent, went to meet one of the ambassadors of this energetic and languid dance, 20 Fingers, in Maputo, Zimbabwe. Take a look.
In this tiny recording studio in the heart of Maputo, the capital of Mozambique, is a hit factory for 20 Fingers. Songs like Je t'aime, Let Put Down, and the latest hit, Asuma. 20 Fingers is the spearhead of Kizomba, a musical genre bringing down the house in Portuguese-speaking Africa. This highly sensual music, with its roots in Angola, stems from a traditional style known as semba, a style that developed in the 1980s under the influence of Caribbean zouk music and went on to widespread recognition through the Victoria Carnival in Luanda, the Angolan capital. 20 Fingers and Kizomba go together hand in hand.
20 fingers, mais ou menos, porque.
Why 20 fingers? I just like the name because I make music with my fingers and with my feet.
Escrevo as músicas com meus próprios dedos e também.
They carry me when I'm busy promoting my work.
A qualquer lugar onde eu queira fazer promoção do meu trabalho.
I wanted to pay tribute to my fingers. So there you have it, 20 fingers.
Que agora é o 20 fingers, né?
Yo, escuta.
Gracio has a gift for music. At the age of 7, Gracio Deniase Alfinar learned to sing in church. Some years later, as a producer and musician, he crossed paths with successful musician DJ Faya. Their meeting produced Agara, the hit that set off his career. With his ever youthful air, 20 Fingers, and his romantic musical videos, unleashes the passions of the Mozambican youth. The key to his success? Well, his look for starters, and his talent for taking Kizomba to new heights.
20 Fingers
20 Fingers is a new style. It's a fusion of several influences. There's zouk, R&B, a touch of terrachinha, and a pinch of Afro. That makes for a style that I have made my own, and that I have made popular. People are starting to like it.
Here we like him because his songs, his lyrics have some things like something funny, you know, and something sex too. Things that we know, that we talk, we say when we are doing something, you know. You can take, he speak things that we live in day by day, you know.
His sound is even known in Europe. His work caught the attention of a Portuguese producer earlier this year, and he now performs in Portugal, Switzerland and Italy. The story is all the more remarkable given the obstacles African musicians face. 20 Fingers has not released a single CD. He owes his success to his talent, social networks and a knack for make-do.
The problem is I have to do it all myself. I can't get any backing. Have no backing to make an original CD and to market and sell it. It all comes out of my pocket, but I know it will come.
His optimism will pay off, but 20 Fingers is right in pointing out the lack of viable structures and support from political bodies. Like many artists in the country, he is holding out for the promise of a genuine cultural policy.
First of all, we need to wipe out music piracy in our country. Secondly, we need to attract music labels and serious-minded publishers to our country. Then we have to do what they do in other countries. When they play a song on the radio, the musician gets a percentage. We don't have that here. When a musician starts making music, it is because he or she wants to make a living from music. Fighting piracy, setting up publishing companies, paying artists, that's all very important for us.
Gracio is seen as something of a driving force. The artists around 20 Fingers at the studio hope he will be the one to get things moving, and that one day they will be able to make a living from their music. Among 20 Fingers' current ventures is a project with Abuchamo Monhato, a collaboration that may well help his friend up the ladder of success.
Let's now head back to the second part of our interview this week with Ophir Drury. He explains to our journalist Edwin Kariuki how his group of eco-activists works with the African governments in investigations, arrests and legal follow-up of traffickers.
While many organizations specialize in advocacy work, IGO has adopted a more decisive course of action. That is undercover investigations into criminal networks and following up on prosecution. How does this approach pay off?
Well, indeed, it was clear to us from the beginning that that crisis of the race toward extinction of those threatened species and the lack of enforcement acts as a justification for an NGO to take a step forward towards action, not to talk from the outside, not to talk about it, but to actually jump in, work with government in the field on the entire process, from investigations to arrest operations to the legal follow-up, up to prisons. So on the 9 countries that we have, soon to be 10, in each country we have a team of activists, an elite team that has 4 different activities. The first is investigations. We have undercover investigators. Their role is to infiltrate the trade. Infiltrate, climb up the chain, try to get not the small poachers but the traffickers, and sometimes the bigger traffickers, and sometimes those corrupt high officials that enables that. Their role is to build trust with the traffickers up to a point where we can have a sting arrest operations and arrest the traffickers in the act. Now the second department that we have, second activity, is the arrest operations, where we work with the authorities in the field, with the police, with wildlife officers, in the planning of these arrest operations, those sting operations, sophisticated way to arrest traffickers in the act. We are there in the field doing it with them. Next is the legal follow-up. It starts from actually the interrogations and assisting with legal advisors, the interrogations themselves, trying to get all the information from them and the charge sheet, charging them with those crimes. But it also continues to the actual legal process, to the actual trial, and it continues up to the prisons systems. So we have, we're assisting the governments with lawyers, with advocates that represent those cases on behalf of the state. But we also fight corruption through this entire process, which means that we are intercepting corruption attempts from the arrests level up to the legal level in the trial, up to the prison systems. So we even go to the extent of visiting our prisoners once a week to see that their human rights are being kept, but at the same time to see if they are there. Because criminals that are wealthy many times can get themselves out of prisons. So we are designed to fight corruption through this entire process. Corruption doesn't surprise us. It's not a nuisance. It is our reasons of being there and controlling it. Lots of times we have to monitor and see that somebody has bribed their way out, of course under the pretext that he escaped jail, and we work together with the judiciary very fast to kick them back into prison where they belong. And that's how it looks like when you're designed to intercept corruption and fight corruption, knowing that corruption is the #1 obstacle for wildlife law enforcement. In fact, our statistics is that 85% of all of our arrest operations, 85%, we intercept corruption. We have corruption attempts intercepted and combated. The legal system is equally disturbing as an observation. 80% of our cases, we can tell you who was trying to bribe who was trying to interfere, whether it is a bribe attempt, whether it is a traffic of influence where a high authority that is backing up a criminal ring is trying to interfere and trying to release that person from prison, for example, or from the trial itself.
Could you give us some statistics? How many arrests so far, successful arrests and prosecutions since you started Eagle?
So through this system of a team of activists that is doing undercover investigations, coordinating arrest operations with government, legal advisors following up a case, and lawyers, advocates representing those cases. From this system in the 9 countries where we operate right now, we have more than 2,500 major traffickers put behind bars. That includes some heads of criminal syndicates, whether they are Vietnamese, Chinese, or others. It includes colonels, it includes politicians, it includes police commissioners, it even includes a director of wildlife, the person in charge in his country for the entire management of wildlife, protection of it. So when you hunt corruption, you have to deal with the layer of complicity that enables organized crime. And again, these are international criminal rings. No crime of ivory trade, trade in lion skins, leopard skins, trade in rhino horns, trade in pangolin scales. None of these trades is a national trade. None of it starts in a village and ends up just in the capital of the country. All of it is international. It's cross-border, cross-continental.
You were watching Initiative Africa. Well, that's it for today. If you want to catch the show again, tune in on our Facebook, Vimeo or YouTube channels and follow us on our Twitter account @AfricaShows. And feel free to share, like and comment using the hashtag Initiative Africa TV show. And we are back again next week, same time, same channel with Business Africa, your appointment with the African economy. Until next week, keep safe and thanks for watching. Goodbye.